Red Shoe Diaries.
That's right.
More like Red Shoe Diarrhea, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, loafers, and welcome to episode 69, nice, of the Lazor Comb Podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am, as always, the Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, NeoCal.
And today on the Lazor Comb Podcast, it is a very special episode, a very sensual episode, a very sexy episode. It is episode 69, nice. And so,
Nice.
to celebrate 69, we wanted to talk about a very sexy and sensual and perhaps even orgasmic show. And so the show that me and Cal both thought of immediately when we first brought up the idea of doing
Basically,
something
hive mind.
basically, yeah, when we first dreamed up the idea of doing something sexy for episode 69, we both immediately were just like, Cal was like, oh, what was that show with David Duchovny? And I was like, Red Shoe Diaries.
Yeah.
Just immediately. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Red Shoe Diaries.
I didn't have to mention it. It's just that show with David Duchovny, and yeah.
I
So
just
here
knew
we
right
are.
away. And here we are. And yes, this week on the Lazor Comb Podcast, we are talking about the orgasmic series known as Red Shoe Diaries.
That's right.
Now, we put it through the old random number generator, and what we landed on was episode 57 overall, which is from the final season, season 5, episode 5. It's called Strip Poker. It originally aired on a mysterious day in 1996 because you know what? I can't actually find the information anywhere of when this episode originally aired. Also, this show was extremely difficult to find, which was something we didn't check on before we were like, hey, we're going to do Red Shoe Diaries. And then today I was like, oh God,
We've done that before.
we've done that before. I'm like, oh God, I'm actually having a hard time finding this shit. But
Yeah. Siege like live updated me. He's like, oh, it's on here. Oh, it's not on here. Fuck, that's a different language. Wait, try this.
shit,
Not
this one,
available in our country.
it's on this streaming service I've never heard of. Oh, it's not available in Canada. Damn it. Oh, it's on Tubi. Oh, they only have the first 4 seasons on Tubi. What? They don't have season 5.
Of course.
Of course. I tried to, and I'm like, oh, this one. Oh, here it is. Oh, this one is in Russian for some reason. But yeah, I ended
Wasn't
up
it like
finding.
one fucking like lone soldier that seeded
I found a torrent of season 5, which this show is not legally available anywhere to watch. So like I I pirated it,
What are
but
you gonna
like
do?
I would have I would have bought it if it was available somewhere, and then probably regretted it afterward.
This
But
is what you do, asshole. You go on eBay. You search Red Shoe Diaries DVD VHS collection.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
you
uh,
buy that.
so yeah, so I found a torrent of it of season 5, ripped from Hulu in the U.S. That torrent had one seeder, which usually if you find a torrent that's like that only has one seed, it's like, yeah, it's not going to download. Cool. But
Or
with
it's
no
like
other,
10 days.
yeah, with no other option at my disposal, I'm like, all right, well, I have to try, damn it. And lo and behold, it actually downloaded it within like 10 minutes, and I'm like, that person doing God's work.
Right?
Shut.
Single-handedly making that show available for Canadians,
Yeah.
potentially helping millions.
Yep. So if for some reason you want to watch this show along with us, or after you've listened to this, and
You probably won't.
you probably won't, and you may notice I say if you want to watch this show for some reason, might give you a little bit of an idea of like what I thought of this. Um, Good luck finding it, because it's if you're Canadian, it's available nowhere. Presumably, it was available on Hulu in the U.S. at some point. I don't know if it still is, but American listeners, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So,
anyone wondering, what is Red Shoe Diaries?
Red Shoe Diaries it was originally a TV movie in 1992, and then it turned into a series that actually like lasted 5 seasons. It ran from 92 to
No.
97 or something like that. It starred David Duchovny. He played a guy whose wife committed suicide. His wife or fiance or girlfriend or something, his partner, committed suicide. And he ended up finding out when going through her things that she had been having a very steamy affair with someone. And he found this out like love letters and whatnot.
And he was like, bitch. And he threw all of her stuff in the fire and then started hitting the gym, deleted Facebook, and started
and then
fucking bitches.
And then like kept like one of those letters and like just kept it so he could read along to it and fap.
secretly fapping to it. And the idea of it's very strange.
So what he does in response to finding out that his now dead partner was having a series of like lengthy affairs on him, he decides to put an ad out in the local paper, which you see in the intro, which will end up being in this part of this episode of the podcast. Which, by the way, the theme song fucking killed me. It is just, yeah, and you would have already heard, if you're listening to this, you would have already heard it by now. But yeah, it is just so like over the top, like comedic. It is like the comedic like stereotype of like what sexy music is.
Like saxophone, smooth jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. I fucking died while the intro was playing. But anyway,
Right.
so he puts an ad out in the local paper, saying like, "Hey, women, we'll pay money, send me letters, talking about like some sexy things that you did that you maybe wouldn't tell people about, and you can do it
So I can
anonymously." So I can. That's basically like the vibe. And so, like,
yeah.
literally, what this show is it features David Duchovny in a like wraparound like narrative framing device where he gets a letter from someone. It goes to a like reenactment of the events described in the letter, and then at the end, he is just like, "Big gulps, huh?
Big gulps, huh?
Cool. Well, see you later." And then he walks away with his dog and like crumples the letter up and throws it behind him.
Yeah, he's barely present.
That's
So
basically
he has about 5 minutes of recording per episode.
not even. It's
Not
like
even
it's like
30 seconds.
It's like a 30 seconds at the beginning and like maybe
it shows him walking in like bleak LA, right?
Yeah.
with the dog. He walks, he goes and he gets his mail and he reads this while he's like walking with his dog. And
Yeah.
at the end, he'll be like, Siege just said, "Oh, haha, well, it sounds like something, something. Isn't that right, Sparky?" And then
And then
it's,
and then the dog like winks at the camera and the camera freeze frames and the credits start playing. That would have been the show doesn't end that way. That would have been more fun though.
that would have been more fun because the show presents itself. So, okay, folks, 14-year-old you will remember this show differently than 35 to 40-year-old you does now.
So I used to
The
watch.
budget of the show is shockingly, glaringly obvious once one begins to watch this. And I don't
Considering
just mean the sets, the
considering
writing,
this
the acting, everything.
this episode literally has 3 locations, and one of them is a beach that they probably just guerrilla filmed on. Didn't get a permit or anything. They just went to a beach with
Oh,
cameras.
absolutely. 100%.
Oh,
And the other is a hotel window.
yeah.
And then what's the third?
The cafe that she's in one scene.
I don't even, right. Yeah.
She's briefly in
Right.
in an outside cafe, presumably connected to the hotel that she's staying at.
The hotel cafe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this episode, season 5, episode
5. Strip
5,
poker.
it's called Strip Poker.
You'd think there would be strip poker in the episode.
As I was watching this, I messaged Siege and I was like, when are they going to play poker?
Cal, question for you on that note. Have you ever played strip poker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
It's
usually
not
a young adult thing,
yeah.
or teenager thing.
It's not really as fun as it sounds. Like
Not really.
The I don't know, like the idea, the movies and TV like always like give you the impression that strip poker is like going to turn into like an orgy or something. It doesn't.
No. Except sometimes when it does, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. It never did for me anyway. I've played it like maybe 3 or 4 times. Definitely when I was younger. Like this was like early 20s Siege.
Yeah. And so the gist of this
Yep.
is they're often narrated by one person as if they're writing Mr. Duchovny.
Yeah, totally. That is one thing that I appreciate is that there's very little dialogue. I think it fits. There's very little dialogue in the show.
It does.
And it's
Yeah.
mostly just someone
monologue.
narrating as though it's what they've written in a letter. So that I'll give the show like props for.
While
like,
the present scenes are of the events they're talking about. So the stuff happening on screen is live, but the narrator is talking over it like a memory. So
Yeah.
I'll actually give it points for that.
Like yeah, quite literally, like it's something they're narrating like it's something that they've written in a letter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll
And
give.
so
This is like one of the only things I'm going to give this show credit for.
Yeah.
Is like it sticks to its format.
And I forgot about that at the beginning. So when she was like, there's something about being anonymous that's so hot and like kinky. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about, lady? And it took me like a few minutes to be like, right. She's narrating her letter to him.
Right.
So this is what the first half of the episode is. Her having fun, taking pictures with by the way, 1996, her digital camera. Holy shit. That is probably like a $2,000 camera.
Yeah. That's where
that's
where most of the budget for the episode went.
The actress just happened to have that camera. There was no budget. So I had to double check when this came out. Yeah, like now we take it for granted, right? Like they're in every like fucking device, even some that you don't know. But yeah, everything has a camera. Dun dun dun. There's no camera 1 or camera 2. I'm not looking at any other cameras. At least not while they're listening. But yeah, she's just taking pictures.
Yep.
She's just narrating things. Now here's the start of my nitpickiness. She says a lot of I'm university and I'm first year university and this is deep monologue things.
Uh-huh.
20 minutes is like, that's the thing. A secret affair, a love interest. They can't keep their hands off of each other, and they don't know I'm here, and that's what makes it more exciting. I'm probably misquoting it. More interesting than what it actually is. It's
Their
gobbledygook.
their
It's
their passion and their fire awoke something deep down inside of me that didn't know was there.
and I envied it, but I knew that I couldn't because Jack, blah blah blah,
It read
presumably
no,
her husband.
you know what this is? It reads like a romance, like a cheap romance novel,
Oh,
which
one,
again, it fits with the
I
theme of the show. So like that's another thing that I got to give them credit for is like that they know what this is.
yeah.
uh,
Now, before we, and so that's the first half. She's taking pictures of another couple that probably don't care, but don't notice her because they're in the hotel across the street from her
and they got
with
their
their
window
windows
open.
wide open and presumably somewhere in Europe, right? They
Yeah,
want their pictures taken. They're fucking right next to the window,
yeah.
right? Now, let's take a step away from the summary. Siege. How did 13, 12, 14-year-old Siege find the Red Shoe Diaries?
So yeah, I used to watch this show back on a Canadian channel, Showtime, which it's cleaned its act up.
Showcase?
Or yeah, Showcase. Showtime is a U.S. channel, right? I think this aired on Showtime in the U.S. actually, or Cinemax/Skinemax, as it was known as,
Yeah.
which is not a channel we ever had here, but I know about it from its reputation. Um, Showcase was a channel that launched actually at the same time as Teletoon, which is a channel we talked about in a like programming block on this podcast a few months
Mm-hmm,
back.
mm-hmm.
It launched. It There was this in 1996. There was this like big like there was like this one like day like in 1996 where like literally like 40 channels launched and
And
Showcase a
man, when
lot.
you were a kid
Yeah, it was
in the
huge.
90s,
because
big
prior
deal.
because prior to that we had like I shit you not, people, we had like literally like 35 channels, and then all of a sudden just like 40 channels launch on one day in 1996, and among them was Teletoon, Space Channel, which we've talked about,
Yeah.
Showcase. Now Showcase has kind of cleaned its image up in recent decades, but for the first like several years, um, at night, it showed stuff like this and like a lot of like foreign language films that had a fuck ton of nudity and sex in them.
Yeah. If you ever watched The Lex, or was that Space?
That was space.
That was late night Space. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that had a lot of like sex and nudity and stuff. Now here's the thing.
So you can mention to any specifically like dude like Canadian dude who is like in their like probably early to late 30s. Mention Showcase to them. It's
There's
gonna
only
dig
one show they're gonna remember.
it's gonna dig up some memories. Are gonna
Yeah,
be like
yeah.
they're gonna be like, yeah, channel 24 late at night. Yeah, so yeah, Showcase, as I mentioned, late at night had stuff like this and like a lot of like foreign films with like tons of sex and nudity in them. So
Mhm.
13-year-old Siege was watching a lot of Showcase at night.
You better believe it, brother. Now, here's the thing. When you're a kid and you're up late at night and no one else is like watching TV. I had a lot of siblings and like cousins. So it was just like, ooh, here we go.
Boobies.
Boobies. My memories of this were a lot different than like the reality. I remembered this being really long. Or maybe it showed two episodes back to back.
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds kind of familiar. Um, and I remember it being
What's
kind of
what's Fox
boring,
Mulder doing in the Red Shoe Zone?
right? Why is he reading like letters?
There's a
Sexy
little
letters.
there's a subtle little joke for the wrestling fans right there.
Oh, and
What's
well,
blah blah doing in the Impact Zone?
yeah. And speaking of Impact Zone, so later when I was 16, And I realized the folly of trying to watch this as porn, and I discovered the internet.
Yep.
Um, I had two female friends actually. So it's funny that you mentioned just male, and they were like, "Oh man, we had like a sleepover," and they were like 15 and like 16 or something like that. Like, oh, we watched like this porn show or blah 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 on like this channel, and I'm like, "You mean like Red Shoe Diaries?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and I'm like, "That's not porn."
No, it's
Sweet
not.
Summer Child. And they're like, no, 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 it is. I'm like, it doesn't show genitals. It's
It's very
it will
soft core.
show lots of yeah, it's softcore.
Yeah.
It'll show like people like on each other, like behind each other, whatever. But there's no penetration. There's no genitals. There's no
You see some
anything like
bush
that. It's you
in
see
this
bush,
episode.
you see nip, you see nip and bush and butt.
Yeah.
And
No male
they
nudity
assured
though.
me, no, 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 it's porn. And I was like, you know what? If it's porn to you, that's all that matters.
Right.
Exact. And if 13-year-old you thought it was porn, good for you. Because only after trying to watch this like 5, 8, 10 times did I realize I was being duped and just fucking watched something else.
Right.
Right. For the like long, boring monologues, just so that you can hope to get like a flash of a butt or boob.
Well, this show doesn't waste any time on that front because
Oh, it really doesn't.
when we're first introduced to, I'm just gonna call her Blondie because
Yeah, voyeur blondie.
yeah, I'm just gonna call her Blondie. Um, when we're first introduced to Blondie, like she's having a shower and you see her butt and like boobs and her bush. Very nice, I'll say.
Narrating. Yeah,
Yeah, she looks
I
good
guess.
without clothing on. Um, yeah. So yeah, the show doesn't waste any time. Like it jumps right into the nudity aspect. There is a plot here, and the plot is basically this chick is married to some like important businessman who is away on business all the time, and
There's a
she's
really funny line in it where she's like, huh, that's always like Jack. Um, to do a business like just the wording of it is really funny. Like that's always like Jack. Um, to do a business before a pleasure or something like that. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, businessman Jack, right?
Right. Well, yeah, and when she said that too, like my immediate thought was like, "Lady, look at the fucking hotel that you're staying in that presumably he's paying for because as far as I can ascertain, you have no job."
Oh yeah, she's just like chilling, like bored, taking pictures of other people,
So
which
so like
actually,
maybe don't
this actually,
complain. Maybe
that's a
don't
good point.
complain about the fact that he's away on business cuz like you're living
You're
in the lap
welcome.
of you're living in the lap of luxury here, lady.
Fucking like 4-star, 5-star like hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's taking pictures of like a violinist on the other side. But yeah, she ends up finding out, ooh, there's another couple that joins the couple across the street.
Yeah, so yeah, to back to like the plot here. So she's frustrated that her rich businessman husband is away all the time. He sends her flowers. She like looks out at the window like all longingly and notices
A
another couple.
bird trapped in a cage.
She notices another couple like going at it in the like hotel in a window like across the street, and she just
She
suddenly
gets kind
decide.
of weird and obsessive.
Yeah, and she's like giving this like really like
Boring and poetic analogy of like her
I found
desire to be like them.
like hot blonde or chick or not, like I found like this whole thing extraordinarily creepy.
So outside of the boringness, I was posting gifs of like people falling asleep to see just I was watching this. Um,
And I was just like, well, I'm
if
sure
this
it's
was a
boring.
dude,
It's boring as shit, but well, at least there's tits.
if this was a dude instead of an attractive woman, an attractive young woman, this guy would be a stalker.
Yeah. And this would be a show, and like this show would be like about
The
him, like
tone would be different.
it,
He'd
it
be
would
like
be it would be played like
a
like
thriller.
a thriller, yeah. And he'd
Yeah.
be like breathing like heavily,
And
like
here's the thing: she does.
yeah.
She does everything that female '90s privilege is what
It,
we're trying to say. Uh,
It's not creepy just because you're like a young hot blonde chick.
so going back and watching this, I'm like, and it about halfway through, it actually passes a line because as she's doing this all day, she's taking pictures of them eating lunch with this other couple. And then they notice that these two couples, talk to a random like traveler and get them and invite her over to like have lunch with them or like whatever. And she's like, wow, they can just like reach out and talk to people and bring people into their cabal. And so, like any normal person, she follows them everywhere.
Yeah,
So the five people, the two couples, and then their new, uh, I'd
their
say
new
more attractive. Like
their,
she's
their new
she's got some
plaything,
raccoon
basically.
eyes. Yeah, dude, she's got some like raccoon eyes, like kind of like crazy chick look to her, and I dig that. They all go to the beach,
I was
and
very
since she doesn't work and she just stalks people, she follows them to the beach
I was
to take
very
pictures of them.
I was very disappointed that right at the beginning when she's like looking out the window, there is a very like looking down at the ground, there is a like attractive redhead who like walks out of the hotel and like walks up to a car, and I was like, oh, are we gonna get to see her naked? No. She's never
I
seen in the
knew
episode again.
that, yeah, they're just the camera pans on this like extra for this show.
You knew,
And I
huh?
was I knew, I was like, oh man, and but I forgot. I was like, oh man, disappointed that that one wasn't in the show. But it's just about like finding like semi-attractive like people and like filling the screen with, and indeed this is like a nude, like you said, they probably didn't get permission to like film
On
at
this
this
beach?
beach,
No, probably not.
and
I
it
would be shocked
probably
if
is
they
in
did.
Europe. Because keep
Yeah,
in mind, David Duchovny, yeah, he's an American actor, Canadian American
he's
actor,
American.
but his
He
he
actually
doesn't
famous.
interact with the rest of the crew. He's just reading the letters.
David Duchovny famously doesn't like Canada,
Right.
which is why he left the X Files, was because he was sick of filming in Vancouver.
And to be fair, one of us likes Vancouver, the other one less so.
I like, yeah, I like Vancouver.
Uh, I've been there like a dozen times, and three of the times I've had attempted muggings. However, I am faster and have more motivation to get away than the
Faster,
people trying to
stronger,
mugging me.
smarter,
Smarter,
more attractive.
bigger knife. You call that a knife?
Sir, that's a spoon.
Well, I
Exactly.
see you've played knifey spoony before. And then while they're distracted, I throw the spoon at them and run away.
And you're like, there is no spoon, bitch.
There is no spoon. Ah. And then I kick him in the nuts and run away. So
Yeah, so she's
the
at so
she's
the
at the beach taking pictures of them. Like she's not even trying to like hide. Her camera is this big. So anyone younger like listening to this, her camera's 2 feet long because of the lens that she's got on
the
it.
thing is like the size of like a sawed-off shotgun. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
And so instead of coming over and like talking to her or whatever, the fifth member of the the cool sexy people, the new recruit, she writes on canvas because I guess she brought giant pieces of canvas paper to the beach with her and ink. She writes in huge like sign, caught you peeking, or caught you.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, here, let me
Oh. Maybe I
let me
was like looking at my phone or something.
yeah.
My attention started to drift away while I was watching this.
Yeah, caught you peeking, and then she's got a second one, and it's like, want to join us? And then she puts them down and then comes over and walks to Blondie. And I'm like, that's like a lot of resources and time, knowing that she was taking pictures of you to do that when you were going to come over and talk talk to her anyway.
One thing I want to mention that I was actually kind of disappointed about is earlier in the episode when she like the couple that she's been stalking basically
Yeah, yeah.
when their friends first come over and she mentions, oh, they're playing strip poker, which no, they're not, they're just hanging around like topless.
They do. It shows them playing like a poker game, and it shows one of them like taking off her jacket and stuff. That
And so when the like two women end up like disrobing, they're all like embracing one another and like looking like they're gonna make out, and I'm like, cool. Now you two dudes do the same thing.
come on,
Come on, like
come
why
on.
not? You guys are free spirits, right?
You guys are free spirits.
Just go at it.
Yeah.
And
No one's here to judge you. Suck
uh,
that dick.
alas, the show doesn't go there, and I was disappointed. I'm like, oh, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Back to the beach.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. New girl is kind of like, oh, my name's blah blah blah. What's your name? My name's blah blah blah. And she's like, so you're a photographer? And Blondie's like, sometimes. So you're an artist or a painter? And New girl is like, sometimes.
So here's what I'll say, and
This
this
and
is
then it completely goes fucking 180 and gets trippy.
before that. Just before that, though, what I want to say is the Blondie, the actress who plays Blondie, like her
Yeah.
monologue for like a cheesy like romance novel type thing. Her like the delivery she gives is actually pretty good.
Oh no, it is.
This chick cannot act off of someone at all. Like the
And now I'm
interact
like, is she the one even delivering the monologue?
right? The interaction, the very flirtatious interaction between Blondie and
A little
Ru-
painful.
Russian doll, I'll call her.
Yeah.
Very, she puts on a British accent that's very fake. She's very Russian looking and sounds like a Russian person trying to do a British accent.
I
Um,
wasn't paying attention enough. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
the,
She
the
says like six things on the show.
the acting in this like brief scene is absolutely atrocious.
It's I almost wonder if that's by design because it's somebody remembering something cheesy. I wonder how
Fair,
much like
fair, and this show
tongue
is
in
going.
cheek.
This show is going for a trashy romance novel vibe, as I mentioned.
So I
So
wonder, but here's the thing. We do this a lot. We're probably giving it more credit
then it then it
than it
deserves. Yeah,
deserves. And you're probably right. They're just bad
yeah,
actors. But we play devil's advocate against ourselves
right.
at times.
This show did have some notable guest stars in it, like Arnold Vosloo was in an episode.
Really,
Matt LeBlanc
the
was in an
mummy
ep-
himself?
Matt LeBlanc, Joey from Friends, was in it.
No
Uh,
shit.
let's see. I'm just going down the wiki list for names that I might recognize. Matt LeBlanc was in a couple of episodes. Holy shit! This must have been before Friends was on the air. And
Well, it aired like 92 to 96, and Friends was on air during that time.
didn't Friends premiere in '94? I think
Oh, so you're thinking maybe he was in earlier seasons before.
he was. Yeah, he was in a couple of episodes in the early seasons.
Okay, okay, okay.
Well, the only names I recognize are Matt LeBlanc and Arnold Vosloo. So the show did have two notable guest stars.
It had the mummy and Joey from Friends.
Yeah.
So
Sadly, their powers did not combine in the same episode.
imagine
Yeah. Uh, they just end up fucking each
what's
other
not
and
to like.
leave the leave whatever.
But
like,
as their characters,
yeah,
as like uh
Joey and Imhotep.
Emotep.
Imhotep, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, from here the episode. So yeah, like
Oh, so she joins them.
yeah, she
Okay.
joins them, and then some
now,
like real fucking like artsy fartsy bullshit goes on.
and okay, so there's really cryptic, like almost like damning music, like almost like in a horror movie when like something bad is going to happen. And it implies that she goes and joins them all, right?
Yeah,
they all put on plastic see-through, all the women. So there's 3 women, 2 guys now, because 4 women,
Yeah,
who cares? Anyways, there's 3 of them, and they all have on cultist cultist masks.
yeah. It goes out
They're
very
all like
quick.
different
Just
animals. They're very pagan looking.
it does like the show does like a complete like U-turn and goes like full eyes wide shut.
Yeah, and it like shows them like balancing on like the boardwalk. Sorry,
Well,
the wave break, or like whatever it's called, and like the dude that she was photographing is now like photographing, like taking photographs of her and the other 2 girls. And
yeah,
long story short, though, after the weird cult scene, she joins them in her
in their
in
apartment.
their apartment or a hotel room or whatever. And they have like, 3 girls, 2 dudes, like playtime or whatever. It doesn't actually show her having sex. They're just like wearing the masks and being cute and like
And like
taking
being
them off,
naked and like
being like
fondling
posing
each other and
differently and
whatnot. Yeah.
fondling each other, but presumably they all fuck, right?
So
And then it shows a dude
it's Blondie's husband or boyfriend or
going
whatever.
to their hotel room, and he picks up the camera, which she's conveniently left on the windowsill.
Right. And then in the
And
monologue the narration that she
yeah,
gives is that, oh, he could have taken the camera and taken many pictures, but he didn't. And when I asked him why he didn't, all he said to me was, it seemed like you were on an adventure.
so what did exactly?
And
So what it's implying here,
I'm like, okay, whatever.
so what it's implying here is he shows up and possibly to bust her, like proof of adultery or like whatever, he takes a picture. But after he like looks at the picture or like saw her like expression, Jack told me, after I asked him why he only like took one picture, that he could tell from my expression that I was on an adventure, one that I probably would never ever go on for the rest of my life. So
Uh-huh.
presumably he forgives her for that, and they they stick together. So there's this kind of like women be cheating, but dudes be cucks vibe to that mirrors both I that mirrors both David Duchovny with his origin story
Yeah.
and the the Jack
Real life.
and real life, and Blondie and like Jack, who you only ever see his hands like holding the camera at the very end.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, let women like experiment and like, like love them for it. And it's like,
Oh,
she's good and bad.
she's a free spirit.
She's she's a free spirit. And he's all, and then I don't even remember what Duchovny says like at the end. He's like, I can't wait to get home and fap to this, Sparky. Who's a good boy?
It's
I,
basically just like big, as I mentioned earlier, big gulps, huh? Cool. Crumples paper up. Well, see you
Crumples
later.
paper. See ya. So, and that's the
Oh, and that's the
what's
episode.
your
So
take, what's the lesson before we like wrap up and all of that stuff? What's your takeaway from like what the director of this episode or writer, or like what do they want us to,
I think she imagined the whole thing. I'm
like, this
gonna
is just fan fan
I'm gonna headcanon here a little bit. I think she saw these people and was spying on them. And this is probably why the episode takes such a bizarre turn. I don't think she ever actually met up with them,
oh
and like got together
shit,
with them.
because remember she started having flashes of when she was taking pictures of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So it's
I
her imagining.
I think that this was just like the like final stage of like her fantasy.
And she's bullshitting and writing to him, kind of like everybody that like writes to
Yeah.
Playboy or whatever exaggerates or is just fabricating the story.
Yeah. And
So you think
I don't
she
think
just remained on the voyeur end of
Yeah.
things.
And the whole thing with like her husband, I don't think that ever actually happened
This
either.
bitch ain't married. No.
No, 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 no. I think she is. I think
Yeah.
that's just part of her
But her
fantasy.
husband never came and found the photographs. And
I think that's just part
being
of her
found
fantasy.
and accepted for her desires is part of her fantasy.
Yeah.
I, damn. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, look at
that's
us making the show actually more interesting than, than it really
than it
is.
actually is.
As
As is
famous.
as is one of our superpowers.
It's one of our superpowers. There's not been a single time someone has gone and watched an episode that we said was bad and then been like, "Oh, actually no, that was pretty good." If anything, they're like, "Oh, I thought it was really funny listening to you guys talk about this episode, but when I watched it, it was yeah, it wasn't that
It
great."
wasn't very good. It's like, well, yeah, we told you.
And speaking of told you so,
Yeah, so
Christopher's
Cal.
oh sorry, me, yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Cal, you just caught a random episode of the Red Shoe Diaries. Would you tune in again?
14-year-old me would pensively tune in next Friday night. However, 36-year-old me could not be fucking more bored. There's one reason to watch this, and it's because you're 14 and don't have access to porn.
Right.
Guess what? I'm 36 and I have a real girlfriend and
Shut
the
up.
internet.
No, I don't believe it.
Come at me.
I don't
And
believe it.
no, I'm not, I'm not tuning in next week. It was fun to talk about it with you
Yeah.
because it's such a core memory. I will never, ever watch another episode of Red Shoe Diaries in my entire fucking life. And I will bet anything like on that. Like this was fundamentally yep, that's about what I thought it was. Take it for what it is. Again, different time, right? 1996. But that belongs in 1996 with 13-year-old Cal.
Right.
Siege, you just watched a random episode of Red Shoe Diaries from a nebulous time in 1996. Would you tune in next week?
So when I was like 13, 14, and like in like 98, 99, watching this
Watching
on show
reruns.
watching reruns of it on Showcase. Yeah, I would seek this show out because well,
Boobs, man.
yeah, boobs.
And butts.
I had not touched lady parts at that point in my life. I had not touched boobs or anything else. And so, yeah, me at that time, yes, absolutely. Me at 38, having touched such things in the ensuing years since, no, I would not. I'm with you. I will never watch this show again. It was fun to go back and like be like, wow, this is a very like this is a memory from a very specific point in my like developmental years. But no, I'm glad we watched it and talked about it. But
Yeah.
no,
There's some interesting social commentary, like the fact that this is actually a stalker that's kind of being romanticized.
yeah,
But no.
yeah, no,
We're
no,
adults. Man, who the fuck watches soft core porn?
right? You
Which
go
leads me to my last question for you.
you go to Pornhub and you watch like the most like hardcore thing imaginable for like 5 minutes until like you get there and then
Like every red-blooded American.
and then carry on with your day.
And carry on with your day. Who was this for? Like as an adult watching
Yeah,
this now, who who was this for?
different time, man.
It's
It
just a different time, I guess, right?
different time. No, no. Well, the internet technically did exist, but most people didn't have it. There wasn't.
I absolutely did not.
No. There was porn was like basically something you had like if you're like
Cool uncle
cool
left some magazines in his garage.
cool slash semi creepy uncle gives you like one of his like V8 porn VHS tapes or like some magazines or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like, and if you look back too, like in the 80s and 90s, like nudity and sex was like very common in movies and like late night TV.
What the
And
fuck? Yeah.
and
What
it's
the fuck
not anymore.
happened?
It's just
It's
not
not.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because like people have such easy access to the real thing that there's
Oh, you don't
no.
think it's like a rise of conservative like media control?
No, not at all.
Huh. It's just
No,
people don't need it.
people don't need it. Yeah.
Huh.
People at like in the like 70s, 80s and 90s didn't have easy access to like actual pornography. So like the best way that they could get their jollies was like watching stuff like this.
Yeah.
And like there's no need for it anymore.
Yeah. I
And
wonder what the commentary of what the show is trying to tell its audience with like David Duchovny being like secretly turned on about like all of his like dead wife's like affairs.
right.
I, like I wonder if there's
Dave
like a director or a writer like self-insert going on here.
David Duchovny was a cuck before being a cuck was cool.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Or
Oh,
is that a bit I don't know. It's entered the political like slur thing, and like now that word means nothing.
right.
We've like talked about this before, how like no language ever means anything.
Right.
Like in the span of our lifetimes, literally means what literally means, as well as the opposite of what literally means. There are no rules anymore. No rules.
The gloves and the shoes are off, people.
The gloves and the shoes are off.
uh,
Alpha is a bad thing. Being a cook is a good thing. David Duchovny hates Canada.
dogs and cat mass hysteria. Dogs and cats living together. Mass
We
hysteria. I
got
fucked
red
that up.
shoes here.
My shoes are
I was
blue.
promised red shoes, and there were none in this episode.
There were some in the intro, technically. So there were red shoes. There was
Well,
also a red
fuck.
dress.
Oh, that right. I think the theme, I forgot about this. At the beginning or somewhere in the episode, there's always like a very brightly colored red article of like clothing or hair or something to fill that motif. And that was the redhead at at the beginning.
Right.
There's always like something red, and that's like the director's like artsy like stamp on every episode.
I
Prove me wrong. You can't find the show to watch it.
anyone who's been listening to us for long enough probably should be aware that I'm very fond of Redhead. So I'm disappointed that we didn't see more of her in the episode.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
the deal?
Yeah.
I like the biggest criticism. Where's the redhead?
Yeah. I was cucked by Red Shoe Diaries, damn it.
And that's what the show aims to do.
And then freeze frame. Credits. Anyway, that was episode 69. Nice. Of the Lazor Comb
Nice.
Podcast. Best way to support the show is go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. We're at the single $5 Gary tier. You get access to our Patreon exclusive show, the Super Laser Comb Patreon Super Show, where we kind of talk about whatever. We tend to talk about more like real life stuff and like day-to-day things.
Yeah, like philosophical or like valid think our values and shit like very often.
Right.
Well, in between like talking about like favorite movies and like absolutely fucking stupid billionaire shit,
Yep.
which is just a never-ending reservoir of.
Another perk you get is you get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this very podcast here, which we're going to
Right.
start doing that again real soon. So if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Follow me on Instagram and Threads, an Instagram app, at Christopher Siege. That's
Me
Siege,
too.
Siege. That is
Well,
how
that's
you spell
right.
Siege. I've had to tell a lot of people that.
It's not SEEJ.
A lot of people spell Siege Seige.
Oh, like E before I.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
it's
Siege is
I
not spelled
before
that way.
E, except after C, and some other, and lots of other things actually, but not this way.
Yeah, no, it's Siege. So I have to tell a lot of people that in my life. So yes. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, Cal, where can people find you?
Instagram and Threads and Instagram app at Calhalla, Kalhalla, and the TikToks at NeoCal, NeoKal, NeoCal, the way it sounds like it's said. I almost got through the whole episode without stuttering.
You can also follow me on TikTok if you want. I barely ever use it. It's at Lazor Comb, and literally pretty much all it is just clips from the shows
Which
that we
I actually
record.
like a lot. Yeah.
So if you want to see some like little like snippets of just like bits over like various shows that we've done that I just think are really funny, sometimes I post them on TikTok. So yeah, you can follow that. You can add me as a friend on Xbox Live if you
Oh
want.
shit.
At I at my gamer tag is Lasercomb.
Oh
Uh,
shit. Yeah,
yeah,
mine is Calhalla on Xbox too.
but he hasn't signed into it for like 10 years.
It says that. It says that, but it doesn't include Xbox for PC.
Oh, well, it should.
It should, but for
Maybe it
some
does.
reason it doesn't include that.
Maybe it's because you've never signed into an Xbox One or an Xbox Series console with your gamer tag. That could have something to do
Which
with it.
might change soon, as I might want to connect a non 15-year-old connect
Really?
for exercise reasons.
Ah, well, good
That
luck finding
fucking
them.
look of disdain on your face, really.
Hey, I had a Connect for Xbox One because I had a launch model Xbone.
Wonder if there
Uh,
are any good like exercise games.
uh,
Um,
maybe.
I'll have
Yeah,
to
I
do
don't
some
know.
research.
It's a device that's long since been discontinued and doesn't feature any
That's
support.
fair. Yeah, like there's no Series X version of Kinect, is there?
No,
No. Maybe I should just let it die.
maybe. Series X, great system though. I have one.
I should get one.
I had a Series S for a couple of years there. And then earlier this year, I decided, you know what? Like I was doing okay financially, and I'm like, you know what?
It's time to upgrade.
It's time, and I deserve to have nice things, so I got one, and well, I have one.
And
I
then you played games on it.
I don't actually notice a huge difference in performance between
Oh.
playing games on my Series S and playing games on my Series X, to be perfectly honest.
Is it already out? The Silent Hill 2 remake?
No, it's not out yet.
Fuck,
But
man.
apparently it's a PlayStation console exclusive. It's also going to be on PC. So
Looks fucking good.
I will be well, and it's from the Bloober team, the makers of the Blair Witch game, which I actually really liked, and Layers of
That's
Fear.
off. Did you play Layers of Fear?
I played the first one.
That's the best one.
They
That is
also
fucking lit, man. It's
they
fire.
they also played. They also made the Medium, which was a like launch title for the Xbox Series consoles. I think it's on PlayStation now as well.
I
Like
like that.
now it's on
No,
PlayStation.
yeah, I had to think about it for a second, but I played that.
The Medium. Yeah,
Yeah,
it feels like a spiritual successor to the like PS2 era Silent Hill games. So
right.
I can see why Konami like went to them and were like, "Hey, remake Silent Hill 2."
Hell yeah.
Perfect studio to do it.
And it's a
And it,
remake.
yeah, yeah, full like
We need a game or media show that's separate from what we're doing. Maybe when
so
something else wraps up.
so we can just be one of like 5 million other gaming podcasts.
Ooh, that do it that don't do it as well as others. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I don't know. I also don't play games nearly as much as I used to. Only got
We like the idea of games.
well,
Here at Let's Go.
only got so much time for so many things.
Yeah, I
And
don't know how I have some friends and it's like Final Fantasy, whatever the online was, 15, Final Fantasy 14,
14, yeah.
Final Fantasy 14, 30 hours in the last 7 days. And I'm like, the, where did you get this time turner to
Yeah.
play video games? I think we barely have time to watch Red Shoe Diaries. And
Yeah,
that's all.
it's like yeah, like I work full time, like 40 hours a week. I like we do this
Yeah.
which It's time consuming. It's time consuming on my end, especially because like I do all the back end stuff. Not complaining
Mhm.
about that. Like I like doing all that, but like it eats up time. So it's like, and then like there's also the time of like watching or reading the things that we're reviewing, and then like trying to do other things in my life too. It's like how the fuck,
Watching.
like how in the hell am I gonna have time to like sink like X number of hours into like a MMO each
Oh,
week?
especially an MMO
Yeah.
where there's like the chores and like maintenance, and you got to keep like at it. No,
And maybe this is just an age thing too. Like, I swear, folks, we're gonna wrap this up soon. Maybe this is just an age thing, but like for me, a lot of the time now, like sitting down and playing a video game is kind of an event unto itself. Like
basically a party.
it's a big deal.
Get
Like
the chips and pop,
yeah,
sit down, an event, and I am fucking playing this game for 3 hours.
yeah,
Put my phone down and playing this game.
yeah. That's how you know we're getting old, my friend.
Put your phone in do not disturb mode.
Yeah.
Dim the lights, close the curtains, put rose petals down on the ground, pour yourself some wine, and just like fucking
Put on the theme song from Red Shoe Diaries in the background.
on loop, and just like fucking replay the Halo anthology.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that about does it for episode 69 of the Lazor Comb Podcast. On the next episode, we're jumping back into Patreon picks, and we're gonna start with our good buddy Jared, longtime listener. We've reviewed quite a few things of his at this point. Now we're starting with him because he mentioned one of his picks is a show that I actually used to watch back in 1998 when I wasn't fapping to Red Shoe Diaries. I was watching a show from Saban called The Mystic Knights of Tirnanog, which,
Which, as of only just now, I have never heard in my entire life.
right? It was made by Saban, so basically think medieval Ireland Power Rangers. Like they morph and everything into like mystical, like magical armor, and they fight evil monsters. And I don't know, it was a fun show. I didn't love it, but it was a show that I liked.
Well, most when you're a kid and you got a lot of free time, there are a lot of shows that you just kind of watch because
Also your standards are lower
oh yeah,
when you're a kid. Like you're much more easily amused by things. Anyway, so to figure out what episode we're gonna watch, I'm gonna hit screen share.
yeah, this is real. I'm looking at it now. Mystic Knights of Tirnanog rolls off the tongue.
Right. So this show had a whopping 50 episodes, even though it only lasted
Holy
one
shit.
season. Yeah, there it is, 50.
episodes in one season.
Yeah. Kids shows in the 90s, man, I tell you. So
That's fair.
one random number between 1 and 50, and here we go. It's morphin' time. 17. All right.
17.
Back to Wikipedia. The episode
Night of the Spirits.
Night of the Spirits. Maeve takes advantage of a Kel's holiday to send ghostly creatures to attack. Oh, this is probably a Halloween episode because it originally aired on Halloween of 1998.
What a great Halloween that was.
Maybe. I mean, we'll find out on the next episode of the Lazor Comb Podcast. And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We'll throw a red shoe at you next time.
If we remember.
Bye-bye.